You know, today I really was like, I'm not going to stream. I'm not going to make any videos. I'm going to play some games. I'm going to play some Dynasty Warriors. Going to play some Ninja Gaiden 2. It's just come out. And then I had the stupid idea to go on Twitter beforehand. I do this all the time. And as I'm scrolling down my feed, I'm seeing Ninja Gaiden stuff because people are very excited for it. And I come across this post and it says Ninja Gaiden 2 Black has more toned down version of Ayane, smaller breasts and less cleavage. And I take a look at the picture, and that's the picture from the post. And I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, isn't Ayane 14 years old in Ninja Gaiden 2? And I'm stopping it. I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure she is. And she is like 14 to 15 years old. So I'm looking at her and I'm looking at what people are saying. And apparently there's been censorship in the game. Now, I don't know. I haven't actually seen it myself. I haven't been there to look at what's going on because I went on Twitter before playing the game. So if there's censorship of older characters, that's a conversation I'm probably willing to entertain. But when I saw this, I was like, what's the big deal? I don't understand. Is all censorship created equal? What is the big deal if we lower the breast size and cover up the breasts of a 14-year-old character? Now, there were people saying loads of things to this person in the comments section, and I thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to drag this person. I don't want to drag it. I want to use this as an example to show that I think there's a little bit more nuance to be had in these conversations about DEI and censorship. Now, I completely understand the notion where it's like, well, if you censor this thing over here, they might end up censoring this and it's going to be a slippery slope. I hear that, but I just can't bring myself to get on board with this. And I want to know what you guys think. I really want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to be reading the comments. I can't get on board with complaining at Ayane's breast in Ninja Gaiden 2 at the age of 14 or 15, fictional character or otherwise, being reduced and covered up. In the Dead or Alive games, I think she's like 18 or 21 or even 23. I can't remember, but from what I've been told, because I don't play Dead or Alive, she's a woman in those games. Let's just run with the fact that she's a woman. If she was a full-grown woman in Ninja Gaiden 2 and they did this, I would say, what are you doing? Full-grown women, you know, they do have big breasts. Sometimes they do like having them on show. This was the creator's original vision. Why are you censoring them? But we have different standards for different things. And I know some people are not going to like this, but I'm not an absolutist. I'm really not an absolutist. I try to look at a situation on an individual basis and judge it on that. And I'm going to get into Dan in a little bit because I want to talk about why I don't have a problem with that, but why I have a problem with this talking point. But again, I do want to stress that I'm not an absolutist and I'm not playing this left or right politics game that is going on with DEI either. I look at things for what they are and then judge them based on that. For example, we talk about Mortal Kombat on this channel all the time. I think the censorship of the women in Mortal Kombat doesn't make any sense. You can rip their tits off, you just can't show them. That is really weird to me. Like, I can literally tear this woman limb from limb, but God forbid she shows her belly ring, we're going to be in big trouble. Obviously, the newer costumes have eased up. They've eased up on it a little bit. It seems like we're walking back from those stances. But when the game came out, and with MK11 and MKX actually, there was a lot of censorship. So for those sort of things, even forgetting Mortal Kombat, if it was like Soul Calibur, I'd say, yeah, these are grown women in a fantastical game. All the dudes are super buff. Why can't Ivy be dressed like that? It's not like we don't have seductive women in real life. But this I can't get behind. Anyway, I'm going to read the post to you. I want you guys to tell me what you think. So I said to him, don't die on this hill because she's 14. He said to me, what does this have to do with character design? Again, I've blurred out his name because I don't want to have hate go to the guy's page. I want to use this as an example to say I think there's a bit more of a nuanced conversation to be had with this whole censorship thing. Maybe you guys disagree. I said to him, pointing out that a 14-year-old's tits have gotten smaller as a sign of censorship is a weird thing to do. Does it not make more sense to you for her boobs to be smaller in the revised version? Because, you know, it's a 14-year-old. You stated she has smaller boobs and less cleavage as if it was an issue or an unneeded censoring of the character. Wouldn't you say that's a good change given the character's age? Now again, everyone that's been to this channel knows that I'm against most forms of censorship, but the key word there is most. There are going to be things that come from other countries, it can be anywhere in the world, and they come over here and we go, yeah, we don't really see children like that. I think we're going to censor that particular part. Now I know what you might be thinking, censorship of art is a bad thing. And I mostly agree with that, but I think in this situation with Ayane, we're isolating Ayane now. Try to stay on topic with Ayane. Don't try to make it about everything else. There is no reason for Ayane to have big boobs in this. And there's no reason for them to be on show. You could argue there's no reason for the older women in the game to have big boobs and to have them on show. But I'd say we don't have a problem with older women having bigger boobs and having them on show. They have full control over their body. They can dress however they want. We don't really allow children to do that. Now you might also say, Michael, it's fiction. I agree, it's fiction, but she's a fictional 14-year-old. I can't get off that. And I really want to know what you guys think. He says to me, no, I would say that's an excuse for censorship, and it leads to censorship of women like we've seen in the West. I would also say that if this is how the dev made it, then it needs to be the same. Another thing would be is that she's a fictional character. She has no real age, and probably tomorrow I would forget she is 14 because I don't focus on character age in the game unless the character is known for being like an underage child, like maybe Haley from Marvel's Spider-Man 2, or just a regular child in the game like Watch Dogs Jackson. That's how I see it. Now, the excuse for censorship thing, that's something I want to touch on because I hear the slippery slope argument all the time, and I do believe in the slippery slope argument in most cases. But I do feel like even though there is a slippery slope there, we as adults, I do think lines should be drawn somewhere. And this is where I want to get into Dandadan. Dandadan came under heavy fire for the way that it depicts its characters. Now, I don't think is her name also Ayane? Sorry, my mistake. Her name's Ayase. Momo will say. I don't think the way Momo is drawn is provocative. Like, she's always in her school uniform. There are some scenes in that show that put her in compromising situations. And this might be where people disagree with me. I think depending on how you write the story and the scenarios that people are in, depends on how I look at you and I look at how you're telling the story. So for example, like in Game of Thrones or even some Western shows that we've got over here, there have been scenes with like young females or young males that are somewhat questionable, but I feel like the story allows it to get away with those things, and we might cringe and go, oh, what the hell, but we're cringing at the storytelling there. In the Dandadan scenario, there's scenes in that, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, where sometimes they're in their underwear, but the way they've told the story, the demons they're fighting, and the fact that maybe they're underwater in some scenarios, I feel like they can get away with it there. Now, there are some animes where they just go over the top and they have these really, really underage girls doing really ridiculous things with these women's bodies, and I turn those shows off. I don't really like watching them. There are some, admittedly, that are in the shows we watch all the time. You can't really get away from it. Doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with it, but in the context of storytelling, sometimes I can look past that stuff, even if I don't agree with it. For example, like I've just said with Dandadan, a demon's like trying to kill you and it's pulling at you and whatever. Yeah, you might say that's the creator's excuse to get the child in her underwear. I don't know if I want to have that conversation because I don't want to make too many assumptions, but there's a story being told that there's no story being told here of Ayane. There's no reason for her to be in her underwear. I said to him, you can speak about them in two different lights. If there is censoring of grown women moving away from the creator's original design, then I am willing to hear that conversation. But that character is supposed to be a child, and people are pointing out that her boobs are smaller and less on show. There's actual censorship that you could look to say it's unnecessary, but like all things in life, not all things are created equal. Censoring a child's body to be more modest is a good thing. I kind of stand by that. Again, different stories are going to tell things in a different way. We've all seen Game of Thrones. There's some crazy shit in there, but they're telling a story of Middle-earth in like a very an age that existed long before any of us were born, right? Obviously, it's fictional, but it's like a Middle-earth or whatever. It's hundreds of years ago, completely different standards, and they're trying to tell a story. I get it. In Dandadan, again, they're trying to tell a specific story, and they're putting in certain scenarios. Quick side note, this absolute psychopath commented on the post, and he said, and yet you psycho, can't say that word, feel the need to indoctrinate children to mutilate themselves so they can be another effing gender. You have no effing opinion to give, you psycho. I read that and I was like, hold on a minute. When did I become an advocate for gender reassignment surgery? When have I even spoken about that? First of all, I've never said that I support that. Twitter is honestly one of the most interesting places. There are so many strange people on this app. This guy doesn't follow me, clearly doesn't know anything about me. And he saw my post and he was like, censoring a 14-year-old child? You must want to mutilate them. Like, what? Then the guy replies to me and says, not really, because that's not a child. It's a fictional character and we've seen where this leads to. Leads say the censored it because it's a child. Yeah, I understand you're trying to go the slippery slope argument, but that is a 14-year-old child. If I'm telling you a story and I say that's a 14-year-old, then that is a 14-year-old. It doesn't matter if they're fictional. It's like what people say with Dragon Ball Daima, right? They say she's not a 14-year-old child. She's not a child, and by age, she's not a child. She's like, she's very old in the show in Dragon Ball Daima, but she's got the body of a toddler. And I know some people tried to explain this to me because there's people online that love Pansy. They've got a thing for Pansy, the girl in Dragon Ball Daima. I find that weird, and people were saying, oh, Michael, you're lolly shaming. I'm sorry. I will die on that hill. I find that weird. Again, Feel free to tell me that I'm being a prude or whatever in the comment section. I'm just sharing with you guys how I feel about this. We have feminists running around in gaming industry censoring women, everyone. I think you meant to say everywhere. I agree. There is censorship where I think doesn't need to happen. I agree with you there. They start from the smallest things and continue to push. Tell you have women like Mary Jane from Spider-Man 2. Okay, like the Mary Jane thing is about uglifying her. And I think we all looked at Mary Jane and said, yeah, I don't know why you designed her like that. But that's, again, that's a grown woman. They've purposefully uglified the character. I don't know why they did that. I don't agree with it. But I don't think this is how you push the conversation forward. I think this is actually how it goes backwards. Because there's no real reason to have her boobs big. There's none. Manly and androgynous. She's supposed to be as hot as Black Cat. Justification, creative direction. That's how I see things. I hear the Mary Jane argument, bro. And for anyone else saying that, I've spoken about this. I'm on your side of the Mary Jane thing. But if Mary Jane was 14 and they depicted the gigantic boobs and she was constantly walking around in whatever Ayane is walking around, are we really going to say, yeah, well, it's the creator's vision? I'll be like, yeah, but it is their vision. Maybe you can't censor it, but I can look at you sideways. I can look at you and be like, why would you draw a 14-year-old like that? And to be moving around like that, like Mary Jane in New York City, we'd be a bit like, huh? I said to him, I think you're looking at this in black and white vacuum. Yes, there is an issue with censorship in the games. Nobody is denying that, but you have to draw a line somewhere. If Ayane had nothing on but a thong and some stars on her nipples, and they changed the costume, given the age of the character, would you say that is a bad thing or unwarranted censorship? And he said to me, all censorship is bad censorship. And that's why I stopped interacting with this individual. I spoke to some other people there and I was basically saying to them that I feel like the waters have been muddied so badly that where I disagree with censorship of Mortal Kombat characters, like we said, I don't disagree with the censorship of underage characters. I don't know where people sit on this. I'm very, very interested because I've grown up watching anime and there's certain animes that people show to me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not watching that. Are you insane? There's certain games that people have recommended to me and I've said, I'm not playing that. Are you crazy? Like there's certain dating simulators people have recommended to me and I've said, no. And then there's certain dating simulators they've showed me and I'm like, okay, those are grown women. This looks funny. Let's play that. I feel like there's lines that shouldn't be crossed. And again, having seen loads of animes and having seen some of this stuff in the animes, I've always been like, hey, it's kind of weird, but I can't say anything. It's in the show. It's whatever. But when they reduce the character's breast size, I don't think that's a call to a woman, a fully grown woman's breast size that are getting reduced. And there were people on here, and as a joke, I was like, these guys are outing themselves. We're going to get Skeeter Jean here. But I really want to know what you guys think, because I'm not trying to make anyone sound like a predator. And that's why I blurred out this guy's face, because we are talking about a fictional character, but it's a 14-year-old fictional character. And I'm like, where's the line drawn? Now, the reason I asked him, what if Ayane was wearing a thong and nothing but stars on her nipples, is because I wanted to see how far I could push it before he said, okay, that's not acceptable. And so I would push it even further to you guys. What if Ayane was 10 years old and they depicted her that way? What if she was 8 years old and she was depicted that way? And then she was censored a little bit when she came over to the West. Would we... Am I about to die on this hill? I feel like I'm about to get cooked for this, but I can't get past that. And I feel like this DEI situation has become so vitriolic and so like volatile. And it's been ideologically captured by the left and the right that when these sort of things happen, I already know what the comments are going to sound like. Oh, this bloody lefty. You can't really have conversations about this thing because now I'm going to sound like I want to censor art. I'm just telling you that I don't find it odd that her breasts were reduced. I don't know if I want to have a conversation about actual censorship and me pushing for it across the board, because I can see why that's a bad thing. But if someone presents me with a piece of material and we're like, yeah, this character is 12 years old and she was drawn like this back in the 1980s, but we've updated her character model, so you know she's maybe still like that, but less skin on show and maybe a little less curves because she's 12. I don't think I'd be like, oh, you've censored the creator's vision. I'm like, well, I mean, you have censored the creator's vision, but I'm not going to die on that hill. I'll be like, okay. Now, if she was 32 and had big boobs and a big bum and she decided to show some skin, I'd be like, well, she's a grown woman, dude. Grown women dress like this sometimes, and it's fiction and it's fantasy. So you pile all those things on top, and I feel like you have an argument there to say this censorship is bad. Now, again, I was going to go and play Ninja Gaiden 2. I probably shouldn't have gone on Twitter. I always go on Twitter before I'm about to do something. I don't know why I do it. But I really want to know what you guys think about this, because I feel like I will get blowback on this, but I always keep it 100 of you guys. We talk about these things on live streams sometimes, and some people don't like it. Some people think I'm lolly shaming. I don't know, man. Like even the pansy thing in Dragon Ball Daima really like set me aback how many fans Pansy has. and not in the good way. There's a scene in Dragon Ball Daima where she stands on somebody, and some guy put up a post saying, "Oh my god, I wish she would stand on me." And I was like, dude, she's got the body of a toddler. She's literally the same height as Kid Goku, and she talks like a child. Just because the show said she's 70 or 700 years old, does it really matter? I could ramble about this all day. To end the video, I'm going to say that we've spoken about DEI and censorship. I'm against it in a lot of cases. I'm against it, obviously, in Mortal Kombat. It makes no sense in Mortal Kombat whatsoever. But I'm also not one of these guys where I'm like, I'm going to zoom in on her bum and detail her elbows and zoom in on her chest and talk about her facial features when she looks like a child, or if they've censored the character. Like, I might say, yeah, I'm not against it, but I feel like there's lines. And what are those words that people use? Is it Guna and Kuma? I feel like you can't really escape those allegations if this is the hill that you want to die on. Anyway, I'm just keeping it 100 of you guys. That's how I feel about it. You guys let me know how you feel about it. If you don't like what I have to say, I completely understand. Well, I kind of understand. I think I understand. I'm not too sure now. Anyway, I'll be here all day. Take care, guys. Have a good day and peace.